Trade rumors across the NFL are heating up, and two of the bigger names on the defensive side of the ball sound like they want to be traded. So I'll ask you, if you can only have one of these guys to trade for, who would it be? Type 95 for Chris Jones and 55 for Chandler Jones. But I know everyone's just going to say Chris Jones because he's the better player, but also factor in the price it's going to cost to trade for them. Might have to give a first-round pick for Chris Jones and then pay him $30+ million. I'd be able to get Chandler Jones for a 7th-round pick. So let me know, 95 for Chris Jones or 55 for Chandler Jones. All righty, welcome into New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Have you been living under a rock? Chris Jones and the Kansas City Chiefs are in a contract dispute. Jones does not want to play out on the last year of his deal. He wants a new deal, and he wants to become the highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. And right now, the Kansas City Chiefs seem reluctant to do so. According to reports, Chris Jones wants to be paid 2 years and $64 million, while the Chiefs have offered him a deal that would pay him $54.5 million over the next 2 years. There's no doubt about it. Chris Jones is one of, if not the best defensive tackle / DNs in this league. And the Giants would be a much better football team if he was wearing the NY on his helmet. But at the end of the day, there is a salary cap. And I know you can say, oh, I say it all the time. There are millions of ways you can manipulate the cap. But the money would be tight for the New York Giants because right now, the Giants only have $1.7 million in cap space. And you got to think, well, how can they clear up some money? Well, you look at what they can do. And remember, Joe Shea has been reluctant to, I would say, restructure anybody's contract on this team unless your name is Daniel Jones. Leonard Williams, you could restructure his deal right now, no negotiations, no bargaining needed, and he could save $12 million. But you would have to bite the bullet a little bit in the future. Adoree Jackson, you could do the same. Both these guys on the last year of their deal, the Giants could save $6.5 million by restructuring Adoree Jackson. That gets you up to about $20 million. You could make a deal for Chris Jones, give him a new deal, push his money into the future and make it happen. But it's not just the money. You have to give him a draft pick, maybe a first or second rounder, because Chris Jones is just an absolute freaking stud. You look at what he did for Kansas City last year in 17 games, 44 tackles, 15.5 sacks, 17 tackles for loss to go with 29 QB hits, also 2 forced fumbles. I think he's up there with Dexter Lawrence. He may be a little bit better than Dexter Lawrence. I mean, but if you could have a 5-man on the line of scrimmage, you go to a classic 3-4 defense, you have Williams on one edge, you got Jones on another edge, you got Dexter Lawrence as your nose tackle, and Azeez Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeau as your edge rushers. Man, oh man, would this football team be scary, and would they lead the NFL in sacks? Wink Martindale would be probably the happiest man in the world if you're able to trade for Chris Jones. It ain't going to be cheap. I'm talking about draft picks as well as compensation because he wants, like we said, to be paid, $32 million per year. I'll ask you this question. Should the Giants trade for Chris Jones? What do you think? Let me know. Type T for trade, type P for pass. I would love to get Chris Jones. Let me know what you think. T for trade, P for pass. At the end of the day, yes, I would trade for him. I also think it's worth it because you would get one of the best football players on your team. And anytime you could do that, I am interested, especially on the defensive line because pass rush and D linemen are inside the DNA of the New York Football Giants. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Giants are willing to give up the draft compensation, and I don't think Joe Shea is willing to push the money of Leonard Williams and Adoree Jackson more so into the future so they could squeeze in Chris Jones. You'd be great. You'd be better. I just don't think that the Giants would do it. I would do it, though, no doubt about it. But there's rules, salary cap, and it's going to cost you a whole bunch. Coming up next, a guy that would be less to trade for. What about Chandler Jones? Chandler Jones has requested a trade from the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll break that down in a second. But first, I need you guys to get your Giants gear so you can be ready to go week 1. Go to chatsports.com/NYG sale, and there's a whole bunch of Giants Nike gear that is on sale. You can get the crew neck. You can get the vintage tee with the big white NY logo with football underneath. We showed you the Darren Waller jersey. You guys know I'm a jersey guy. I got my Kayvon Thibodeau one. Get yourself some Giants Nike gear today and save a few bucks since it's on sale. Just do it with this link, chatsports.com/NYG sale. The deals will not apply if you don't use this link. All righty, let's close out the show from one Jones to another. Let's focus in on Chandler. Chandler Jones sounds like he wants out and does not want to play for Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels, and the Las Vegas Raiders anymore. And you can go check out what he put on his Instagram story. There were some curse words on there that I didn't want to put on the show, so I'm just going to summarize it for you. Chandler Jones on Instagram said, I don't want to play for the Raiders anymore, and pretty much requested a trade. Does that mean the Giants are interested? Does that mean the Giants should trade for him? Let's start with this. Joe Shane, general manager for the Giants, has a working relationship with general manager Dave Ziegler. Remember, the Giants just traded for Darren Waller. That means that they have good communication. That means that they trust each other and they believe that they can get a deal done. On the other side, Chandler Jones is not what he used to be. He was at one point the best pass rusher in the NFL, and he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, you look at what he did just dating back to 2019. The guy had 20 tackles for loss, 19 sacks, and then from there it kind of went downhill. Injuries started to pile up, and the production was just not as good as it once was. Even in 2021, when he had 10.5 sacks, he had 5 sacks in week 1 against the Arizona Cardinals and hasn't been able to reach that same type of production. I mean, take out the 5 sacks from Arizona in week 1 in 2021. What? The guy has 9.5 sacks in the next 29 games played. He was not good for the Raiders last year. I mean, PFF was not kind to him either. Only a 63.8 overall grade from Pro Football Focus, 66 when it comes to run defense, and 60.4 when it comes to pass rush. He was once one of the cream of the crop guys, one of the guys that could get after the quarterback on passing downs. You wanted him on his team. But when you put the lack of production with the amount of money you're going to have to pay him, I mean, if you were to trade for Chandler Jones right now, if you were the Giants, it would cost you $16 million. Yes, you could extend his deal. He's 33 years old. But as we've seen, Joe Shane has not been a fan or really showed any willingness to push money into the future outside of Daniel Jones. Look, I'm not in. I'm out. I'm out on a Chandler Jones trade. If he became a free agent and he wanted to come play here, come back to New York, Rochester native, wants to play for the Giants, wants to retire a member of this team, sure, I would pay him the veteran minimum, and I think that would be worth it because he could help an Azeez Ojulari. He could help a Kayvon Thibodeau get ready for the National Football League and give him some tips and tricks because he's going to be a Hall of Famer. But at $16 million, the production he's giving you, I'm out. No can do, King Wasabi. I'll ask you, we've gone through everything. Maybe your mind has changed. Pick one to trade for. Is it Chris Jones? Is it CJ? Or is it CJ? Type 95 for Chris Jones, 55 for Chandler Jones. Remember, you can also follow me over on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. I'm tweeting about the Giants all day, every day, and I want to follow some Giants fans back. If you haven't yet, give me a follow and send me a DM saying Big Blue, and I'll give you a follow back.